I would say I'm excited about this, but really more, I'm glad. I'm glad that Meredith Fishman agreed to come and share. Meredith and her family have been a part of Temple Sinai for 35 plus years and raised children, and now she experienced a loss. Meredith, I should say, Meredith was for her how many years at WLRN, a very long career producing at WLRN, so she already knows how to look into the camera and be ready. We're glad she's going to tell you a little bit about the loss that she experienced and what that has meant over the time.
Well, first I'd like to say that Rabbi Litwak truly helped me over the last few months with more than he even knows, you know, things that he said and being there at the right time. And, you know, every little bit has helped over these times. And, you know, I was thinking when he asked me to do this talk about loss, first of all, you know, I thought loss is all connected to sorrow, you know, it's connected to sorrow. Loss, there's sorrow. Loss, there's suffering, right? And everything in the world really was when you're losing something, whether it's your health, whether it's the person that you love so much, whether it's, you know, excuse me, it's truly even financial, like Rabbi was saying about suddenly you don't know, you know, where your next paycheck is going to be, whether it's your homeland. I mean, everything in life has to do with loss. And yet, have we really figured out a way to be able to transcend loss without suffering? And that's actually been my journey, I think, over the last few months, because it happened very suddenly. It was, well, my husband passed away 8 months ago. And before that, it was, we were getting ready a few months before to go on a trip, you know, the usual traveling vacation, and rushing around our house like we would. Did you take this? Did you get this? It's always the same. There's always the hassle of it. You know, we never seem to get it down, relaxation. And it happened very quickly. It was in the middle of the night. He fell. I didn't even think it was anything. And we got to the hospital, and the neurosurgeon came out to tell me that he had a C2 fracture of the neck, which is, I think, one of the worst fractures there are, and that he could have either been paralyzed or died right then. So what happened to me? I just began to shake, uncontrollably shake. I never experienced something where I could not control my body at all. You know, and it ended, and then things seemed to improve, but this feeling that they could help him through a neck brace, through those the halo, and they could help him. So the journey began to kind of, you know, that he would be okay, that everything would be okay in life. And that they said he'd wear it for 3 months. And he did start to get better. The amazing thing was that the neck got better, but the body got worse. And those 6 months that he spent in and out of the hospital were like really crisis-ridden. Every other day there was a crisis. Every other day something. And I can't even tell you how many times that he almost passed. And I had to get ready, and I had to, you know, and I didn't shake again, but it was like I was really like a war zone. And I'm sure that if you're listening to me right now, watching, many of you have experienced it in different ways, you know? And what I started to feel was, this is going to be so painful, you know, this is like suffering. And I would say to my friends, I'd say, you know, I mean, this is like, my life is not over, but our lives have changed. You know, nothing is the same. Like, I don't have a normal day. It was rush to the hospital and rush home and just to get a couple of hours of sleep. And what I came to realize, something turned around in me actually pretty quickly, you know, with the trauma and the pain of the whole thing. Something in me said, there's another way, you know, this doesn't have to be this way, you know. We don't know how long he has to live. My hope was really, I believed in my heart that he was going to live, you know, he was going to get past this, as he had many other times in his life with near almost like near-death experiences. And I just believed that he would be okay. And yet in the meantime, it was really, really tough. And I began to just get out of the way of it, not be the victim, not be the one that was suffering. And so what I did was I tried to just be present and be there. And just to give you an example of really the most beautiful times, I would say, that we had in our life, and we had many beautiful times, we had a really good life together, was just sitting with him in the hospital, sitting next to him or sitting on the bed next to him and just being there with each other. There was this bond, this like love, this feeling of support, that I was able to give to him when he was, I knew he was suffering so much. Barry, if any of you know him, Barry Fishman, he never, you probably don't know him as well, but he never complained. He never ever said anything bad about anyone. He never got upset. I've been a meditator my whole life, and 35 years, I'd say. Really working on myself. I'm the one that, got emotional and would, be bothered by something someone did that wasn't right, but he wasn't like that. So I knew he was holding it, that he would hold his pain, and he wouldn't complain, and he would respect people and the nurses or the aides even. I mean, there were some moments, but sitting there on that bed, was like, or just for hours when we would just be together, or traipsing along when he would, have to go for a test, or getting there as early as I could, if the doctor was going to be there to speak with them. It became like just a beautiful process, not a process, but it was almost as if life was suspended, but something so precious was happening to both of us together. And, in our lives, we were very busy people, both of us, and we were together a lot. We traveled all over the world together, so it wasn't like we weren't together and we were just busy and that was it. But this was something different. I mean, this was something where it was like we were just connected to each other without having to say much, not having to discuss our list of what had to be done that day and who was going to take care of what. And I want to share something that happened was he couldn't walk, and the whole thing was they were trying to get him to walk, and they were trying to get him, his legs to get stronger, and it was really, really tough. He just couldn't do it, but he kept trying, and that was Barry. He never gave up with anything. And then one day they would have him go a few steps, and then one day they got him out to the hallway, the therapist, and I would always be behind there. Sometimes they had me working with the wheelchair behind, and all of a sudden, he just took off. I mean, with the walker and the person behind him, he took off, and he made it to the end of the hallway. I mean, like people couldn't even believe it, that because he could walk a few steps, and that was it. And then all of a sudden, he was like running practically down the hallway, and the entire group of people that were, whether it was a nurse or a doctor that walked by, everybody started clapping. And I was, of course, crying because I saw the love and the support of people that knew him, people who didn't know him. It was one of those moments where I said, in bad things, in terrible things, there is this beauty and this special moments. And I feel as if this has carried me through. And when he did pass away, it was as if we shared something so special, and we did everything that we could, to keep him. We did, and we meaning everybody. The doctors were unbelievable. Nobody gave up on him. The nurses, everybody, and I never lost hope. I always believed, because as I said, I'd seen him before make it so many times, that he was going to make it. And then he just couldn't anymore. And my spiritual experience about this was that it's true. You hear this, and it might sound trite, but when your time is up, and when it's time, you go. And it's a blessing to the person, because after you see someone suffer for so long, and that everybody has tried everything, then it's time. And I almost felt that he went, there's this feeling that he went with pleasure, he had somewhere to go. He's going somewhere, and I cannot be the one left behind to suffer, and suffer. And I'm a meditator, as I said, and I have for years and years been meditating on really trying to be, stronger in many ways and get rid of the negativity and get rid of the worries and everything. And so every day when he passed, and even before, I just meditated on strength, being strong, being powerful, not powerful on the outside, but having a power inside, and just connecting with God. I think it's true. What do they say about, I forget this saying, but about, the people in a war zone, suddenly they look to God when there's no other hope. And isn't that what happens usually? We look to God when we're in need, when we're suffering. But I didn't see it as looking to God for help. It was more for support, and for strength, and also just for understanding, and to be as strong as I could, because what I believe is, and this is something that's part of my, it's taken me a long time, that we're not here to suffer. And we're not here, yes, we have our moments, and we do have pain in life, but we don't have to suffer. I mean, we might have, some time of it, and yes, there's some kind of grieving, but life is too precious, Life is just too precious. I mean, how much time, none of us knows, and so there was this feeling that I want to make the most of my moments. And people ask me, they say, well, what's it like, and it's the main question often people ask me is, what's it like to be alone? You were married for 45 years, and, I knew him when I got married like I was in my early 20s, and almost early 20s, but yeah, I met him at 23. So, and I had my TV career and my daughter and everything, and life was like, kind of so set for so many years. And so, I don't want to say easy, because we had, everybody has moments and hard times and everything, but life was pretty good, always. And when they ask me, what is it like to be alone now? Because I think that's everybody's fear, right? That loses, and I think losing your mate, your husband, significant other, whoever that you spent your life in there with you, all the time. And I honestly don't feel alone. It's I have had moments, but I feel his presence. I feel as if, not that he's there, but I can feel his energy and his goodness. And often when I have a situation and I can't figure out, do I go here, do I go there? It's sort of almost like an answer comes to me from him, It's like, do this, do that. He was very practical, and he didn't dwell on things like I could do, dwell on a question. Should I do this? Or, over and over again. He would be like, just make a decision, that's it, and that's fine. And I have begun to change as a result. I think, what would Barry do? And I feel like that has been a big step for me, not dwelling on things, and not talking about things. He never, all the years, we were together, I don't even remember if he ever said anything bad about somebody. He would say bad things maybe about an issue or a situation, but not about people, even people that, hurt him. And so I have kind of made it my business, if I think about something, maybe somebody wasn't so nice to me and or treated me or ignored me or something, I just, I think about him, and I think he would just let it go. Just let it go.
Aaron?
Yeah.
I'm going to jump right in, because I wanted to say, we know that one of the stages of grief is anger.
Yeah.
And yet I haven't heard in anything that you said that there was any sense of anger. And is that because, I'm curious why that maybe you're just a meditative, person, and you've got that under control, or that it was the length of the recovery, you kind of got used to the idea. But was there ever a point where you felt anger?
That's a great question.
At the loss?
No, I can't say that I felt anger. There were moments where I felt, like, why did it have to happen? Could he have lasted longer? There was, but not anger. I'll give you an example. Right about a month after, my daughter, the organizer, she's a great organizer, she says, she knew that my sister-in-law, who lost her husband many years ago, was going to Morocco with a couple of friends, and with female friends that also one was maybe divorced, the other had lost her husband. And my daughter said, you need to go to Morocco. You need to go with them, And I was like, I can't go. I mean, I can't go the way I'm feeling. I don't want to see anybody. Right now, I don't really want to go. And she goes, no, you have to go. And she called our travel agent, and all of a sudden it was like almost set that I was going. And I was hesitant because I thought, what's this going to be like? I've taken trips myself, but more things to do with invitation or global. I've been involved with a lot of global kinds of media things. In fact, I saw you at the airport once on my way to a media thing in the Catskills, right? Yeah. I really wasn't sure what it was going to be like, to be without him on a trip in Europe, traveling around Europe. And I remember, though, I would see a couple that, I hate to say it like this because maybe it sounds like discrimination against aging, and we're all aging, but, if I saw a couple that really seemed a lot older, and maybe even they didn't walk so well, and then I think, oh, why couldn't he live? Why didn't he make it? And they're fine, and they're traveling all over Morocco, and there was that kind of going to be like a little bit, but that was, it was very raw for me. I mean, it was only a few weeks, but what I did see was that with connection with people really helped me. Again, then I came back. Then I also went to India to meditate, and then I came back, and right in the middle, not in the middle of the beginning of COVID, so I was stuck in my house after being, after going through this, and there was like, now you can't leave, and I really have to be alone. So but there was no anger. I cannot say that I felt anger.
All right, so I'm going to give it. I just want to remind people that you're welcome to put questions in the chat, and I'll take a look about the experience of loss. But I am curious whether I have two questions that I'm thinking about. One is that you came back and then you were really by yourself, and that maybe this was the time that you come to terms with what it really means to be alone, even though you felt like you've had people around you. Okay, so I'll ask that, and then I'll ask the other question.
It's a good question. Yeah, there were moments that it was hard at the beginning. I can't say that it wasn't. All of a sudden you're in your house, and I'd almost see him in my mind. Like he's not here, or you see the person's things, or I mean, just something would just set me off. But I wasn't like depressed, sad. It would come and it would go. Like I would cry for a minute, tear up, and then it would just go, and then I'd be okay. And people go, God, you're so good. You seem good, or really more on the phone, or because I wasn't seeing that many people. But that's how it was for me. That's how it was. It wasn't like I could every day. It was like something special would happen, and a lot had to do with just people caring. Really people caring. Someone calling me to just say, I'm just checking, to see how you're doing, and that meant enough. And what I've come to realize is sometimes we don't know what to do. We just don't know what to do. People are suffering, and you think, well, they've got family, their family can help them, or whatever they've got. Or people will say, well, you're so busy that, think I'm so busy, and I'm not so busy, but I'm involved with things. But they'll go, you're so busy, like almost like you're not affected.
Or that it's their own giving themselves an out, an excuse not to engage with you because people are fearful or not sure what to say, what to do. And so, Meredith's got her family, Meredith's got her travels, and that releases me from my responsibility of saying, hey, how you doing? Or thinking about you.
You're right. And just that little thing about people, I mean, it's so little. You know what I'm saying? But yet it's so big.
I thought that you were saying, that those were like little gifts. They're like little pearls that you had throughout your days when somebody would call and check in, and that those things sustain us when we're kind of feeling low.
And I would say that I don't think I understood it. It's been a lesson for me to realize, because also didn't share about the hospital, people coming to see him, because those were, again, it was before the virus and everything.
Right.
Luckily, I mean, that was a blessing. I look at it now as it was a blessing that we had that time together.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'd be sitting here talking about now,
Right.
and I'm sure
very different situation.
You know, and he was there. How would I feel guilty? Would I, you know, would I be angry? You know, I don't know. But people that would just, yes, you know, your family, maybe some of your close friends will show up, but just other people that just showed up. They just showed up in the hospital, and how he would perk up, his energy would like totally change. You know, it was almost, and people said he's so energized and he can speak. So I mean,
you should have seen him 10 minutes ago.
You know, just like sitting there, lying there, and then all of a sudden he would start, well, tell me about your business and how's your family, and he was engaging like you were sitting in a restaurant with him or something, you know. And I saw that, and men that would come in, friends, but not always necessarily the best friends, but and just give him a kiss on the, you know, do this again, either, you know, on the forehead, or you know, like a little hug, and you know, he would just be smiling. I mean, these little things in life are just.
Judaism teaches us that when we do Bikur Cholim, when we go and visit the sick, that we take 1/60th of their illness away, right? That we sort of put that on us. And of course, the question is, you know, okay, why don't I just get 60 of my friends to come and visit? All right, and boom, I'm done. But it becomes a diminishing thing of 1/60th, and then 1/60th of the 59/60th, and it's a diminishing thing. But that when we take the time to call or to check in or to visit or to send a meal or reach out in some way, that is a gift.
It's a gift, and it's a gift for you too. I really believe that, like you say, that you do it, you know, like you're saying, that it's because you feel something and you don't have to know what to say. And that's another thing that I really learned was about myself. You and I did talk about this before, that I thought I was a compassionate person. You know, I thought I was, you know, caring. And then I realized that I wasn't exactly the person that I thought I was, you know, because I can't really know what a person's feeling. And yet I would often say things to people trying to perk them up and make them feel better, like you'll get through it, you know, but I think in a gentler way, but you know, it'll just be time, or, you know, certain things that we say without really, I don't want to say feeling it, just that these are the things we know to say. Does that make sense? Like we know to say, and I don't know, it has to, what I found about myself, and I'm talking about myself with others before this happened. Now what I realize is that to just be present with somebody and say what comes to you, but not something where you're trying to advise them or tell them what they should do. Or, you know, a lot of people said, well, and I understand this, you need to take care of yourself. You need to, and they were right, because I, you know, used to. But it has to kind of come from more like from your heart. And again, I'm not judging people, but I know how I'm judging myself, really, saying that I would say things sometimes and I think I wasn't really, because I didn't know what to say, or it was, you know.
I think maybe one of the things when we're in mourning and people come up to us and say sometimes really stupid things, and we say, how could that person say that maybe we want to be a little bit more forgiving of that person and just recognize that person came with their heart to say something. They didn't get it quite right, and to let it go. We have just a couple of minutes, and so I want to ask one last question, and you've actually answered it a couple times. We want to see if there's another opportunity. Just want to, I want to see if there's a question. Okay. I'm going to let Rachel Bronstein, who experienced a loss herself of a dear friend, ask, what do you do when your family and friends call and want to ease your pain and there's nothing you need, or you don't know what they could do to help? Well, that's an even better question. Thank you, Rachel. That's an even better question than the one I had.
You don't have any, you mean?
Yeah, how can I help? And they bring themselves to you, but you're
Yeah,
kind of
you
lost.
don't know what to, well, I've actually had people say, I just want to come over. And that has really helped me a lot. You know, when things were worse, they sat in the backyard and they would just say, I would say, just come over and visit for a little while.
Right.
I mean, that's if something that they feel comfortable with. For me, that helped a lot. And that's another thing, is having some kind of a structure in your life, knowing you're going to maybe see a few people, not every day, but you know, you need
That's what
people.
Shiva's all about, and we don't have that in this poem.
Right. It's just, and so I mean, I personally, if someone wants to do something, let them do something, because they want to do it. If there's something that you can, you know, just stop by or something, you know, maybe you don't need food or whatever, because you're sort of not allowing them to do something when their heart is open.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel
Giving them the opportunity to do the mitzvah, bikur cholim, or for that matter, taking care of people who are in mourning.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thought.
Yeah. Can I
and
share one more thing that
absolutely. I'm not going to.
Okay,
One
can I
last
do it with
word.
you? Yeah, one last word is I really do believe that everything happens the way it's supposed to happen, as I said. And that when you fight that and you struggle with that, and what I feel now, what I'm coming to more and more is that there's a reason I'm still here. You know, I'm here. And so there is more work for me to do, you know, things that I'm involved with, things that I believe in, kind of trying to help the world, or, you know, the things that I'm connected to, global kinds of things, which sort of was connecting to actually Stacey and Harris, those kinds of things, you know, or things to do for me with peace in the world and everything. And that I need to really go forward with that this is, that I can't just stop and just say, oh, my best days, my best years were over when we were married, and look back and feel, oh, life was great. You know, if you keep thinking, I mean, I look back and I go, I had a great life, but I want to have this feeling that life will continue to be great. I don't want to feel my best days are gone. I can't accept that's what we're all about, you know?
So I'm gonna disagree with you and agree with you all at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm going to say I'm not sure that I always agree that things happen in the way that they should. But what I would, that's the minor piece.
Yeah.
But where I fully agree with you, and I'm so grateful for your sharing it, is that when things happen, okay, that we find meaning in those, that we find purpose in those. Okay? You had an image of your life with Barry that extended beyond the point that he died. You thought, you know, okay, what's it going to be like when we're, you know, growing old together, and that didn't happen. But what did happen? You have worked to find meaning in it and to find purpose in it, and that's really the reason why I invited you to share your thoughts, because you're a model for many who've experienced loss and are struggling to get to that point of finding meaning.
Thank you.